My name is Emily D. Donato. I am half, yeah. My dad is Italian and my mom is full Irish. The last name really gives it away for sure. Growing up, we definitely embraced more the Italian side because we all lived on the same street growing up, my entire family, and we'd always go to my grandmother's house for spaghetti on Sundays, and we always had fish on Christmas and a big meal. So the Italian side definitely was more dominant. Yeah, I feel Italian for sure. My parents both have humongous blue eyes, hence why I look like this. So I got that from both sides, the Irish and the Italian, the brunette hair and the huge blue eyes, yeah. I wasn't fully aware, I don't think, that I was cute or good looking as a child, I guess. I mean, people said that to me, but I didn't. I was a total tomboy growing up. I had an older brother and I just played sports. I played basketball and soccer and lacrosse and hockey. I had a really short, not cute haircut. Sorry, Mom, it was so bad. I didn't feel like pretty or particularly attractive or anything like that. But then I guess when I went into high school and then I got scouted as sort of as a model, and then I was like, all right, guess I have something here. I got scouted basically at a mall in Connecticut. Somebody saw me and I had braces at the time. They must have really believed in me and saw that I was going to blossom because I wasn't very cute at the time. After that, they gave their card to my mom and they were like, come to the city. And because I grew up only like an hour and a half away from Manhattan. And then we came to New York and I met with this agent and it kind of just started from there. And I remember being so nervous going to meet them. I remember I wore my prom shoes, had no idea how to dress or how to be, or if this was going to be legit at all. And it took time for it to really happen anyway, because I was still awkward and I was in high school just figuring it out still. Then once the braces came off, I kind of started blossoming. When I got approached, when someone came up to me and said, you should be a model, I kind of thought it was a scam, yeah, but I was also super excited. I was like, really? That sounds awesome. Like, I'm super into that, obviously, because I grew up in a really small town in upstate New York, and that sounded like a really great path. I was very into it, but I definitely thought it could have been a scam or someone just saying, yeah, you're pretty, you could be a model. I was like, but really? Can I really be a model? Yeah. I didn't really know anything about the fashion industry, no, about clothes or makeup or anything like that. I also went to a Catholic school and wore a uniform every day, so my fashion sense was limited. I looked at Teen Vogue, 17 and stuff like that, and you would see people in there. And I remember flipping through ads and seeing models, but I never knew what was truly behind all of that. I was just thinking, yeah, I want to like be in a magazine, sounds great. But I think the only model I knew of was like Christy Turlington. I started working with Maybelline pretty early on, and Christy Turlington was one of the first models I had ever met, which is insane. She was definitely someone that I wanted to emulate and looked up to, and she was just beautiful and powerful and smart and worked in a way that it was just, she was a great person for me to meet and work with early on and know that that was someone and something that I kind of wanted to emulate. Every time I've worked with Christy, she's just graceful through and through. She looks great. She just has a certain calm, cool, and collectiveness, probably out of years of experience and being in this industry helps with that. She's great. I remember when I first started going to castings for shows, that being a really funny concept and not being good at that at all. Like I said, I grew up sporty. I didn't know what I was doing. I mean, what I knew was what I learned from America's Next Top Model. So I didn't know what I was doing, and I remember that being not great in the beginning because you're like 16 years old, you know. I was 16, 17 years old, and there's a million girls there, and they're from all over the world. My parents would drive me into the city for castings and they would be waiting outside for me in the car, and I would be putting on like the highest heels I had, a black tank top or whatever my agent told me to wear, and getting out of the car with my book and going upstairs and walking for people, and you know, you're like, is that good? I remember being like, I don't know what I'm doing. Is that how you walk like a model? I hope so. And I don't think I did it so well in the beginning, for sure. I don't know what you're doing. And then I would go downstairs and hop back in my parents' car and I'd be like, let's go. I remember my first shoot with Maybelline, they wanted to test me before I signed a contract with them, and I was 16. It was such a big set. It was a film set, and there were a million people there. No idea what I was doing. I remember being petrified. It was a 7-day shoot. It was a really long time, and I was only testing. They weren't sure if they wanted to use me yet, but I think I sat there. I got fully hair and makeup ready every single day, but I don't think they used me until the very last day. And I was heartbroken. And I remember going back to the hotel room every night and being like, Mom, why won't they shoot me? Why did they fly me all the way here? What was the point? Every day they'd get me all done up and I'd just be so ready to go. And they were shooting other commercials, you know, there were other girls there. The Kemp Mule was there and a couple of other people. So I think they didn't really know what to do with me, and I think they knew that I didn't really know how to model. And I was just like, oh, clearly I'm not good enough, or they don't want to use me. The last day, they were like, all right, now's your chance. And I remember going out there and just busting out every face and everything I had, and I really did not know what I was doing. And I remember them saying like, oh, just watch Kemp do it. And Kemp at that time had been modeling already for 10 years and was like a pro. So I was like, oh God, I'll try. And I just busted it out. And they were like, oh, wow, you had it in you. And I was like, yeah, you just didn't give me a chance. And now I've been with them for like 10 years. And it ended up being fine, obviously. But when you're 16 or 17, you can't really put all that together. My very, very first shoot in general, which was not for Maybelline, was for Ralph Lauren. And again, I was 16 years old. And for that one, I really did not know what I was doing. And I remember the stylist and the photographer just coming over to me and placing my body parts where they wanted them to be. Because they were just like, you don't really know what's happening here, but we're gonna help you out. Thank God they did that. And they were so like sweet about it and nice, because I was like, I don't know, and I've never worn heels like this before, and I don't know what's happening. And they were like, we got you, don't worry. It's just like placing you in awkward positions. They're like, don't move. I was like, got it. And then slowly, with time, you get better and more comfortable. It's fine. But in the beginning, it's not fine. My dad was a New York City firefighter for 20 years in the Bronx. It's so awesome. Growing up though, I didn't realize what he was doing every day, like waking up and risking his life. When I would tell other people that my dad was a firefighter, they're like, oh my God, that's crazy. What was that like, growing up like that? And I didn't really think about it because it was all I was used to. Now you look at it, and especially after 9/11, he was a first responder at 9/11, and everything that happened after that, you're like, your dad is like, for real, a hero. It's kind of crazy. We would go to the firehouse for Christmas parties and ride in the fire truck and jump on their beds. They're like all lined up in a big long room, and of course slide down the pole. Someone would dress up as Santa in the firehouse. We'd go ride in the fire truck. My dad actually drove the truck, so we would obviously hop in and go for a joyride. Don't tell anyone. Like, no, it's an emergency. No. Yeah, it was just kind of like a whole other family unit that we kind of had. That was like the most cool part, seeing where he got to work and what they did. For a couple of years, I was honorary chair of a charity called Answer the Call. They do a great gala, a couple of events every year, but they support the families of first responders who died while on the job. So firefighters, cops, EMTs, anyone like that, because I mean, after 9/11, but every day these people are risking their lives. And then when something like that does happen, they have their whole family that's left to deal with that. And they are this great support system for these families when these unfortunate events happen. I thought it was a really great and natural thing for me to be a part of and support. As a family member of a first responder, my brother's also a cop. It was a pretty natural thing for me to be involved with. My husband and I met on a flight. I was going to shoot the cover of Vogue Australia, and he was going for a work ski trip type thing. We sat next to each other. I was wearing like Ugg boots and like a really bad long jacket. I was like, I don't know what to wear in Colorado. I just know it's gonna be cold. I slept for the first half of the flight, and then I woke up and we started talking. We had weirdly a lot in common. We were both from New York and we lived on the same block in New York. I just remember we had a really great conversation. He was nice and interested in me. He was just different. I didn't look at my phone or laptop or read or anything. We just talked like the whole rest of the flight. And then after that, we were traveling for a while, and then I invited him to my birthday party in New York about a month later, and he came. I don't know, something just switched on and I was done. I was just like, I just want to be with this person. And I think it was the same for him. We both just wanted to be together, and there's just no confusion at all. It's just like, here we are, now we're together. And then 4 or 5 years later, now we're married. Just got back from my honeymoon and I went to Africa for about 3.5 weeks, and we were in Cape Town, Mozambique, and Botswana. I love animals, so the safari part was by far my favorite part, and I love elephants. And Botswana is really amazing, and especially where we were, because they do a lot for preserving the rhino species, the black rhino, which I was so into that. Our camp in specific were a really big part of reintroducing black rhinos into Botswana and helping preserve their species, because they're getting poached and hunted, which is so sad. I loved learning about all of that and about all these animals and this crazy system that's going on that we just obviously in New York don't ever see or are exposed to. It was amazing just to see a totally different culture, all the different cultures that are in, I mean, even in South Africa, everything that goes on there, and Botswana and then Mozambique, they were all so different, and I really loved learning about sort of the politics, the people, the things that go on, the culture. It's just really different from here, and I was really interested in seeing all that. Yeah, I was so close to a black rhino. We got dangerously close to one, actually. I put it on my Instagram. We had to just freeze. It was terrifying. And I was on the side of the car. It was totally open. And there was a rhino not even 3 to 4 feet away. But it was really cute because our guide, he came so close to us, and you can't move if an animal comes that close because you'll spook them. Our guide was like, he's coming really close, but they don't have great eyesight. Rhinos have tiny, tiny eyes. So he was just getting really close and trying to figure out what we were. And he was kind of sniffing the car and looking around, and then would back up, and we thought he was gonna charge. It was terrifying, but I was also like, oh, it's so cute. He can't quite figure out what we are, obviously. And he's trying to figure it out and sniff us and look at us with his tiny, tiny eyes. But it was terrifying. And our guide, I was like, if he charged, what would you have done? And he was like, I don't know. Okay, perfect. Great. Just would have been impaled by a rhino. Great honeymoon. In our whole camp, there were elephants everywhere. I mean, anywhere you would walk out your door and they would be right next to your door, just eating and hanging out. Accidentally, though, we snuck up on one, and he turned around, and we didn't see him there eating, and we were just trying to go to the gym, walk by on this tiny pathway. He turned around, like veered his head around, and his ears got huge, and he started like kind of coming towards us, but there was this giant railing there, so he kind of couldn't. He wraps his trunk around the railing and just rips it off, like part of the hotel. And Kyle and I were just sitting there, like slowly trying to walk, clearly being like, I will kill you. And we were like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. But yeah, and then like for the rest of the time we were there, this huge chunk of the railing was just gone, and he just like grabbed it and like, threw it with his trunk. But it was insane. It was amazing. I loved being that close to them. Obviously, I didn't mean to surprise him though, but. When I was younger, I played roller hockey. I was on an all-boys roller hockey team. But in high school, basketball, soccer, and lacrosse, played all the way up until varsity level of all of them. Love sports, love playing sports so much. It's something I miss more than anything. I ended up having to stop playing. In a game, a girl had a lacrosse ball thrown directly at her goggles, and she lifted her goggles, and then blood just started rushing down her face. And then I had just gotten my Maybelline contract. And then I saw that happen, and I was like, okay, that's not good. And I stopped playing after that, because I was like, I could mess up my entire face and everything would be ruined. It was so sad though. I was like, you guys, I'm not gonna play anymore. I've retired. I was in Sports Illustrated for about, I think 5 years. It was only a few years into my modeling career, and I begged my agent, Steven. I was like, I really want to be in Sports Illustrated. I really, really want to do that. I grew up seeing that magazine, obviously, and I went up and met with them, and my first shoot was actually in Namibia, which was insane. I loved doing it and being in like such an iconic magazine that, and you know, my parents would see it and get it. It was a huge deal, right? I like what they represent. In general, as a brand, Sports Illustrated, Kate Upton was on the cover, I think one of the first years that I did it. And in general, I feel like as a magazine, they were one of the first to embrace women all shapes and sizes, to me. And I remember when Kate was on the cover, and then when they wanted to shoot me, it made me feel good. Seeing someone like Kate on the cover, I was like, shout out to the curvy girls and the athletic girls, all these different shapes and sizes that I don't think at that time people were yet embracing. Now it's gotten, I think, a little bit better, but then it was sort of a big deal. My first, I did Namibia, and it was cold. My first year, it was like 50 degrees in the morning, and you're in a swimsuit in the middle of the desert, and there's nothing around for as far as you could see. And then another year I did it in Switzerland in the mountains, and it was freezing. And again, I was like, well, I just want a beach. I want to be like on a warm beach somewhere. But some of those trips are honestly some of the best trips I've ever been on because they were so fun and it was always in such a new and exotic place. It was always great people. I always learned a lot. In general, those shoots were kind of just about you. You weren't really trying to sell anything. And I thought it was great that they were just like, do you, be you, look how you want to look. And we're just here just having fun, like sort of creating this photo shoot around you, which was pretty awesome. My agencies would always try to get me to do shows or want me to do shows, and I would always get the same feedback. Too pretty, too American, too curvy, too athletic. I remember when it changed, when Katie Grand started casting people like Kate Upton and all the Victoria's Secret girls. I was thrown in there too. And I did like Louis Vuitton and all these amazing shows. There were people like me, Bar Raffaele, Dowdson, Adriana, and all these girls who kind of weren't known for doing shows. Louis Vuitton, we were all wearing like bustiers and like push-up bras, and there were like boobs on the runway, like of a high fashion show. They were on the cover of, Italian Vogue. Less rules. It's like everything got shaken up, and anyone can do anything. Different elements and different kinds of people, shapes, sizes, colors, like all of those things, highlighting different people, which is great, finally. And I was glad that I was sort of in the mix at that time. It could be a model.